let's get into the episode for today. We have the father of farm talk, Mr. Mike Burkhart, somebody who's worked his entire career in agriculture and a really good friend of ours. He and his wife, Kim, have 4 great children. Mike, over the years, has served on several community organizations from school board to the Frank Roberts Youth League. He's coached. He's been on the board for several other farm organizations. He's dedicated his time and talents to serving those around his community. He also has the Travis Burkhart Foundation, which, if you don't know what that is, you got to go back almost 2 years in our shows and find that Farm for Fun show to learn more about the Travis Burkhart Foundation. They started that based upon the love your neighbor as yourself after his son Travis had an accident. Mike and his family were helped by so many gracious people during that period. The loving people seemed to make it natural to give back, and that's what they do to those that are in need. And today, we brought Mike back on because of that, the fatherly advice side of this. We're talking about the best advice our guests of 2022 have brought to our episode, and now we're going to lean on Mike's career experience, his leadership in the community, and we look forward to hearing some of the advice that he's gotten. Welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Thank you, and I really appreciate the fatherly part, that it was not grandfatherly part.
Oh, that would.
And the cool thing for us guys through this whole process is that we have got to hang around with younger people, and we've always been energized by younger people. So we've been blessed by that entire situation. So it's always fun for us.
And for everybody listening, just a recap, go back, but we did have faith in tomorrow. Failure is an option. It is an option. Try something new, and no one else defines who you are. Where are we going next, Tanner?
Oh, that's a good idea to get Mike caught up. Yeah, those were the 4 headlines that we hit on. Say those again one more time for Mike, Dave.
That is, of course, this is the best advice you've ever received. Have faith in tomorrow. Failure is an option. Try something new. And no one else defines who you are.
Yeah, so Mike, before we jump into our topics for today, I tried to introduce you a little bit. How do you introduce yourself to somebody new?
It's one of those things where you try to take the experiences of life and try to explain in a short sentence what it looked like, And, we've been through some troubled stuff over the period of time, and this has kind of flipped around the other way. I've been the one that gets asked questions a lot. Been on the phone quite a bit this week with different ones. And so, yeah, if I'm going to explain kind of who I am and what we've tried to do through TikTok is that try to take the life experiences that we've had and hope that we can help somebody else out, that they don't replicate those or maybe even, go through something even close, that maybe they can take that information and make their life easier or better.
No, that's perfect. And you, without even really knowing it, Mike kind of led into the first one of this week, and that is that nothing can stop you, Dave.
Can I interject here?
Yeah,
Have you ever heard the Baz Luhrmann song? I think that's what it is. And at the end of it, it says, advice is a form of nostalgia. Dispensing it is a way of fishing the past from the disposal, wiping off the ugly parts, and recycling it for more than it's worth. That's how we define Mike Burkhart.
Wow. Say that again slower. Hey, you're going too fast.
Advice.
I'm getting a raw frog moment here.
Advice is a form of nostalgia.
Okay.
Dispensing it is a way of fishing the past from the disposal, wiping off the ugly parts, and recycling it for more than it's worth.
That's a lot.
Whoa.
That is a lot.
Baz Luhrmann, I think it's Sunscreen is the name of the song.
Mike, I don't know if you caught that, but in that I think he called you trash, but then said you still had some good parts that we just got to wipe off the ugly. It was something like that.
That's pretty accurate because, I've been through a lot of trash. So it really is pretty accurate.
Okay. Now,
edit.
Now
just get that out of there.
No, we're leaving it all in there. So now we're into the first one. Nothing can stop you. And I think, Mike, you and your family are a very telltale sign of this very, very first one. But want to hit on right away in the beginning from a good friend of ours, all of ours here, Chuck Weldon, at the Farm Progress Show. He was talking about that you're the only one that can tell yourself that you can't. you don't have to listen to anyone else. So if somebody tells you that I can't, it motivates him to prove them wrong and that he can. If you can tell yourself you can't, you don't have to listen. So that was what Chuck said there, is you don't have to listen to anybody else tell you can't do it.
You don't have to listen to yourself tell you.
You don't have to. That's right. You don't have to listen to yourself.
I bet he heard that at CrossFit.
Oh, man.
But a lot of it, too, becomes perception of how you see the situation. And, you can pick apart the rotten side of something all day long. And if you can't find the positive part, you'll never come up out of it. And that's, kind of what we've tried to do is say, okay, we may have something ugly in front of us, but let's, just because somebody has told us or told Travis, no, this is not going to work. You're not going to succeed, and you might as well just go this path. And Chuck's exactly right. That sometimes your frame of mind, and you just have to take it and run with it. That's the best you can do with it.
Mm-hmm.
That brings us into our next one. Another buddy of the podcast from the same Farm Progress show. We got Chuck's. We got Nick Hansen's. Nick said, if you're passionate about doing something, just do it. Don't let any obstacles hold you back.
That's good. Actually, all three in this category, Mike, are from the Farm Progress show. They were good here. We talked about Mitchell Hora on the last episode.
You said this one already.
But yeah, it fits though into this one.
Yep.
It's things are going to overlap on these shows. To remind, if listeners didn't hear part one, and Mike, for you, just as well, is you got to get to that first check. Nothing can stop you. If you want to work towards it, get to that first one and push it on. It'll come easier as you go. So that's the first one. Just a quick little hitter. Same thing we did in our first part one. The first one's short, sweet, to the point. Nothing can stop you. What's next, Corey?
Hard work pays off.
Oh, that seems like a self-explanatory
Did
one.
you make these categories, or was it Mama Lynn?
No, I made the categories.
Okay. I didn't know if she was actually doing
No,
that too.
she didn't quite go that far, but that'll be her challenge for the next
Mike,
segment.
Tanner's mom compiles all of these for us. And we had how many shows this last year that compiled?
78.
Wow.
120 different guests, 78 different shows.
We need to get her something.
I did get her something.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
didn't-
From the show.
We didn't vote on it.
Oh, no.
We didn't get
That's right. I
Hope we
showed
didn't buy her some of that complimentary Bush Light or something.
Bush Nog.
That he
Bush
didn't pay
Nog.
for.
That's right. Yeah. Here, Mom, here's the free stuff we got. Let's just ship it to the farm.
We do get a lot of that. Does she like swords?
Just she likes swords.
You guys, you're way off topic. Let's get back to
Moving
hard
forward.
work pays off. What are some examples of hard work paying off?
So that fit advocate, Andrea, said, you're always able to adapt. You're never stuck in life, which that's just a human or any animal instinct. I think you can always adapt.
Yeah.
I think that's a good farmer adage, too. I think they're the best at adapting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're not, because that's the way Grandpa did it.
Brett Bueller from Ag Leader on our Fall Technology episode said, opportunity, don't pass one up, capitalize it, capitalize on it when it presents itself. So that weasels its way into this category because you have to be willing, Mike, right? When something comes available or an opportunity pops up to go get it.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest question I always get is about opportunities, and I can honestly tell them from experience that we had 3 opportunities to buy property that we passed on that we shouldn't. The bank was willing to stand behind us, but the numbers to us didn't make sense. But, we always tell them that, listen, if somebody is coming to you directly and they're not putting anybody else involved in that situation, then what you need to do is try to figure that out as best you can, because they have picked you personally to make a go of it. And they think strongly enough of what your attributes are and what you're trying to accomplish that they want you to take care of what I have worked so hard for so long for it, and know that you'll take care of it.
Mm-hmm. Speaking
And I think that the one comment that really jumps out at me was from Jordan with the 5-star Dairy Brothers. You don't deserve success, you earn it. You got to go get it. It's not going to be there very often, and you better go get it.
Yeah, Dave, that land topic you say all the time. Don't wait to buy land.
By land and weight.
By land and weight.
Unless the market's at the top. And then you
Then
wait
you
for it
have
to go
to-
down, and then you buy it.
You're still
No.
you're
No.
still going to
You
be
still
okay.
should buy it. You just have to wait a lot longer.
You just got to wait longer. Right.
Yeah, but I'll give you an example. My dad had a piece of property that a guy came to him. He got cancer in the late 60s, and the guy wanted him to buy it on contract, and really was setting it up very, very well for him. But he didn't feel like he could afford to have it. And several years later, they mined it for coal, and that 100 acres was full of coal. So you don't never know what it looks like. And, and I always tell everybody that if the banker's willing to stand behind you and go for it, and if you feel like you get over leveraged, there's nothing that says that you can't let go of something else to get yourself back in a balance.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was going to go for the same quote that Jordan said. The end of that, if you didn't hear it, is you earn it. So hard work pays off. People have said that to me. Boy, you could fall in a pile of crap and come out smelling like roses. And I said, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
Mm-hmm. And then Ryan, his brother, said, you have to work hard to play hard. So I don't know if that applies to every one of our listeners, but it certainly doesn't hurt if you're going to go play hard.
And I don't know if you guys remember, they drove to the studio from hundreds of miles away and turned around and went right back because they had to be back to work.
Yeah.
So they like to play hard, but they hadn't hardly even been on vacation, and they decided because they had to see what it was like.
So Corey was talking about on part 1, Mike, that a lot of our quotes came out of Farm for Fun shows. So far, every quote that we've shared, except for the Brett Bueller Ag Leader one, has also been a Farm for Fun show. And now here's another profit one for us to throw at the books here. It's from Wade at Balance Forward. Good enough is never good enough if you are capable of more, which he defined for us as you can't get comfortable, lazy, and complacent. You can go out there and get better. If you're capable of more, it's not good enough. And I remember him sitting here and saying that. And it kind of hit hard because good enough is fine. Unless you yourself know.
That's my favorite one. I just didn't read it because it was the longest one.
See, we should have read Brett from Ag Leaders after talking with Mike when he was talking about the farmland side. At the end, he says, "Opportunity, don't pass one up. Capitalize on it when it presents itself."
Yep, absolutely. So, Mike, now we've covered nothing can stop you, and hard work pays off. So far, you agree with both of those?
Yeah, and one thing I'd like to back up and say is about Nick Hansen and what Nick had to say. What I've pulled from Nick over the last 2 years is that he's the oldest young man I know. He's really way ahead of himself. If you listen to him talk and what he has to say, and I really appreciated the fact that he's kind of stepped up to that and realizes what he wants to do in life.
Yeah. I would, I don't know if I can classify him as he's the oldest young man I know, but I know what you're trying to say.
I know who the oldest young man you know is. Lucas.
Oh, jeez. Yeah. Yeah, another listener. We should introduce Mike to him someday.
Yeah.
So, Tanner, the next one is be strong of mind and body. What's your favorite quote that was said here? We have just a short few of them.
Yeah, we just got a couple of them. And I don't have this one written down, but I would say this guest, having seen her out at Farmer to Farmer, the FBN conference, is very indicative of that. And that's the Farm Fit Mama, Amanda Nig. We don't have this on our list. And I know that wasn't a quote that she had talked about. Actually, she might be on the next page. But her and what she's doing with her Farm Fit program is doing that, is to be strong, both mind and body. It's not only something to get you whipped up into shape and get those abs back. She's working on the whole package.
And blowing my hamstring.
I have abs; they're just covered.
Yeah, right.
It's not getting them back.
Insulated.
Insulated. It's
Right.
cold.
Insulated. We go back to Ag Leader was the first one I got on the list here from Luke James. He said, this was out of the How Best to Use Your Data episode. It may sound corny, but we all have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's why you are meant to listen twice as much as you talk. And that's a hard thing to do for a guy who's a podcaster who's supposed to talk, I struggle with this a lot. Okay, really? You guys are not gonna?
Maybe you should.
No,
maybe you should go down to
Tanner,
one
it's not
headphone.
too bad.
See, I don't struggle with this, but everybody thinks I do because I talk a lot. So they're like, "There's no way you listen that much," but they're just naive. I'm listening all the time, but I talk a lot.
I thought you were just gonna say they weren't entertaining enough. It's not your fault.
It's not my fault. You suck at
You're
horrible
boring.
at business.
This is a hard one. I mean, like I said, I feel like it's easier for me at the bank to sit and listen because I need to take the information in as part of the role, but it needs to translate into, for me, all of my life, Mike. It needs to be that information is necessary and important, and no matter what the conversation is, not just sitting across the seat from a customer.
I just got a text from a customer that must be watching Mike's live feed. It says, buy land. They're not making any more of it.
Yeah.
Great sales pitch.
That's funny. Right, Mike? Is it two ears, one mouth? Is that something to live by?
Yeah, and it's really hard to do that, and especially if someone is got something that you say you don't like, and especially if it's about you personally. And so it really is hard to sit back and listen and gather that information in sometimes. And sometimes as you get older, you don't hear as well anyway, so you really need to pay attention when you're younger. So it makes a big difference, though. Sometimes, you're going to learn more sometimes, if you just take the time to listen what somebody has to say.
Pay attention when you're younger, Corey.
Huh?
What?
I think the pigs are taking my hearing away.
Right.
My
You're the one
wife
that needs. You need 3 headphones on.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next one. This is your favorite guy in the world, Tanner, Mr. Vance Crowe of Legacy Interviews. This was the 3rd anniversary show of the podcast. 3 years.
4th of July weekend.
Wow. If I had known how important it is to be flexible enough to get on and off the ground and in and out of the tractor, I would have kept my body going. So he said, preserve your body. And we're about ready to do that.
Yeah, that's going to be a big focus of Farm for Profit here in 2023. I know it sounds New Year's resolutions, Mike. I think everybody has them. Everybody says them. But isn't that the truth? I mean, you got to be able to take care of your body. I know there's cases to where we've got it, we've seen it, to where somebody's mind goes way faster than their body does. But how many times have you seen, Mike, in your profession, guys, gals that have been farming and their body fails them before their mind does?
Yeah, especially if you're doing livestock. Those guys that are doing livestock, they're using different parts of their body. But, my dad dying at 49 was a big eye-opener for me to take care of myself as much as possible. Travis and I was playing independent basketball all the way up until his accident. And at the time, I was 47 and still trying to get up and down the floor. But I knew that if I didn't take care of myself, that was not going to be advisable. And Travis's situation is just that, because we've always said that, he was going to the gym 5 days a week. And had he not been taking care of himself, I don't think his recovery would have been as good. So, and you see that, and I think that, whenever you go back to what she was saying about taking care of your body, I think anytime you get out and you're getting blood flow through your body, your mindset is so much better. Your thought process is better. I just think that's a big deal to try to take care of yourself as much as possible.
Is there something I don't know? Are we doing a weight loss competition?
I tried to include you in it. I sent it to you.
I was already working out.
You are. You're the one that
you're
the one
ahead
that
of
forced
us.
us into this, Mr. CrossFit, Chuck Weldon. You're going to be the next Chuck Weldon. You're going
Are
to be
you flipping tires?
the David Weldon.
They don't. They're outside and it's cold, so no.
Oh,
No.
yuck.
Lot
Is it
of
like 75 hard?
lift
gonna be
heavy stuff.
Lift heavy stuff. Well, lift heavy.
But I can
things.
remember one of the first times I listened to you guys, I was sitting in the parking lot at a hospital because my wife was in the hospital, and I was listening to one of your podcasts, and Corey had been on the bike. At that time, he was really getting after it and trying to stay in shape. And I remember that because that was one of the first times I think I remember, and that would have been like November of 2020.
Yep, I bought a bike. I think
Yeah.
actually my rower came in November, and then the bike came later. But need to get back on that. I've done it a little bit, but not enough.
Yeah, it was pretty eye-opening out at that farmer-to-farmer conference doing the Farmer Olympics and thinking that I had maintained myself, done well throughout the summer, and then realize how sore I got the next 2 days. You're sitting there going, okay, that's humbling. Let's get back after this and maybe need to do a little bit more.
What's humbling for me is like I spent all spring and summer biking and working out, watching what I'm eating. I was down 20 pounds, and then harvest starts. And I still felt like I did okay during harvest, but it was just like a slow snowball effect. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, bam, back to worse than where I started. Like it just
that's a farmer schedule, though, Corey.
It's not an excuse, though. It's not an excuse.
Well, but you don't have a regular everyday schedule when you farm, especially if you're in the middle of harvesting or springtime. It's go time, and you got to go. You got so much work to get done and so many hours to do it, and you just go.
I'm a stress eater.
Hard work pays off. You might just pay off in dollars rather than pounds.
Yeah.
Look at that.
There you go.
Well, guys, this leads us into the last category. We got quite a few under the last one here, and that is build a strong team around you. One of the very first shows that David and I did when the podcast started was about building an advisory team. Mm-hmm. And then to do it one step further, we reiterated and put another advisory team episode together. And then Mike went even further and talked about peer groups, to where clearly this is a category that we at Farm for Profit are really passionate about. And it's fun to see that there's at least 6 or 7, 8 people that were guests on our show that also felt that rolled right into their best advice they'd ever received. So, Corey, what's one of these that we can start with?
I just want to start out by pointing out that this is the only category that the profit shows won't beat the fun shows for answers, which makes sense.
Yeah?
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Which one of these is the shortest?
Oh, man.
I just can't read.
I thought you were the kid in class that was reading paragraphs ahead, so that way
I'll start while you look.
when you got called upon.
When we had Tony Reed, Huey Cool, and
Justin, picked the shortest one.
Justin Danger.
So
you bastard.
So we've already talked about what Justin said.
I know,
talked about what Huey said.
But Tony said, and I 100% agree, the older I get, the smarter my dad was. He has a team, and farming is a lot of father-son and a lot of relatives, and sometimes we don't want to listen to those people. And with Mike being the father figure of Farm Talk here, not the grandfather, but the the father figure, you probably have a lot of experiences that people could listen, huh?
Well, yeah, and the thing is, my kids have got that way now to where kind of what I've been trying to tell them for a long time makes sense to them now. But sometimes until you experience things, you don't care, and you're not going to listen. But then whenever the ball's in your court, well, then you got to make those decisions. But my thing was all of the folks that I would have worked with on a daily basis that would have been my mentors all passed away at a young age. So I was having to dig outside of that circle to watch others in the area that made sense to me, what they were doing and what they were trying to do and trying to accomplish. So, like I said earlier, I get a lot of phone calls and a lot of things come up, and I always start out by telling them, first off, I don't know your finances, so you've got to make that decision. But the better off you can make a decision with more people around you, the better off you're going to be. And I agree with that. And my thing is too that you always try to surround yourself with people that is your weakness. So in other words, if you don't have an agronomy degree, then you need to find somebody that has an agronomy degree that can help you through it, or finances, or whatever that weakness happens to be. Try to put the right person in place that can help you be more successful quicker.
Yeah, I like that. I want to kind of expand on what Tony said, because I took it for granted being on the farm that advice from Dad was worth it. It was worth remembering until I went off to college. And then you get into a situation to where, crap, I've never been in a spot like this before. And you call back home and Dad gives you advice, and all of a sudden, okay, I can power through this.
Buy
and
her
then,
flowers.
Right, just
Buy her
flowers. But we had a Q Keneally on this year, and between the day that we interviewed Q and the day that the episode aired, in that time span, his dad passed away.
Yeah.
And he's one of those, just most recently and most vocally, reminds people that you can't take that advice for granted. You can't take that wisdom for granted. We talked in the last episode that you don't have to do things like your dad, like your grandpa, but you can still get their advice, get their perspective, and make your own decision after that. But you can't do that if they're not around anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and that's one thing that you see, with what Corey has going on. I've been around their farm enough to know. I've been around Chuck Weldon's farm enough to know that they have a good relationship with their dad, and I'm jealous of that. I really envy that because I see how they work together and how much they enjoy spending time together. But that's a special bond that sometimes ain't always there. Mm-hmm. And Q's situation is just that.
I do get that from a couple of my buddy farmer friends that don't maybe see so eye to eye with their dad, and they say, "Man, it just must be so nice." And I yeah, it is. I don't know how to respond to you. It is nice having a dad that's involved and wants to see the farm go on to the next and doesn't fight you every step of the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be frustrating. There's no doubt about it. There's days that, wrenches are flying.
Good thing for my dad, his shoulders are shot, so we can't throw a wrench very good anymore.
Can't throw that. No. You don't have to worry about dodging wrenches.
No, I just can't. I gotta watch. Can't get too close. No.
Yeah, that's funny.
So I'd like to go to the one here with Rob and Emily Sharkey, really good friends of ours who have also experienced a tragic loss in the last year. Going from Q's there. Emily said, and this was probably exactly almost 1 year ago today that we recorded this with them. She said, "Be the dumbest person in the room. Surround yourself with people who inspire you, push you to be better. No time for the naysayers or negativity. Don't let people bring you down." And I try to live by that to the T.
It's another hard one, but Stephanie Nash said the same thing. She said her grandpa was very encouraging and always said it's good to have good people pushing you. You're going to have people in your life that didn't support you, and that's okay. Take along with you your biggest fans. They will push you and work to have a strong support system. So both Emily and Stephanie said a lot of the same things there, that it's good to have cheerleaders.
Yeah.
It's good to have Mama Lynn there as your number one fan.
I used to be a people pleaser and try to keep everyone happy, just be that political guy, that chameleon that just blended in everywhere. And it's exhausting, and it's mentally exhausting and physically exhausting, drags you down. So if you can cut that baggage and get on board, we're going to the top, take those people with you.
Mm-hmm. We had.
Yep, I would agree with you completely.
We had Rob Zeich as our advisor on the first part of this episode, and he has a company that has advisors, AgVisor Pro, right? Mm-hmm. Where we're taking advice from a network. So we're talking about build a strong team around you. That's basically what he's been building as an app. Well, I know when we did that equipment market update with Tractor Zoom, TJ Masker said, never underestimate the power of your team. You raise the level of your knowledge with a network. They just tie together. That's what he's trying to build, is what Rob's trying to build, is that network. Your network is so important, TJ says.
Well, Mike and I have talked on multiple occasions about the podcast team that we've got here. I mean, there's no secret that if I just hosted this by myself, this podcast would have the same level of success that it is having. Same thing if Dave was to host it by himself. It doesn't. You got to find those that have what you don't have. I mean, you throw Corey in here with your personableness and your actual experience in agriculture, rather than just coming from a banker. We got some actually relatable connections to the show. You got Dave, who travels the world participating in competitions, understands the perspective and the professional side, and then also has a knack to just talk to anybody that pops out of the woodwork. It takes a team to put this together. Mike, is that the same way in agriculture? Do you agree? Still takes a team?
Yeah, I just think it does. Because some of us I wasn't fortunate enough to go to college, so there were some areas that I needed help in. But if you guys will remember, been about just a little bit close to a year ago, I told you guys that you had more out in front of you than what you were doing today.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you remember me telling you that, but I told you guys then that your podcast was going to grow and that I thought you guys had more things out in front of you than what you're doing now on a daily basis. And I think you guys have grown that very well.
I still think that's we're on the path, but I think that's still true.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, it has to be a humbling effect because look at most people, for instance, pro athletes, once they quit being humble, they start to crumble and it backfires on them big time. And those that are humbling, I'll give you an example. Travis and I was at St. Louis Cardinals game last summer, and a guy by the name of Al Hrabowski, who was on the 1982 World Series team, come up to us. And I asked him, I said, would you take a picture with my son? He said, well, who's your son? I said, well, he's in a wheelchair. And he said, no. And I said, no. I said, well, I don't mean to intrude. He said, no, you don't ask me, you tell me. And I said, well, no. I said, that's not how that works. He said, yes, it is. He said, I have been fortunate enough to do a child's game my entire life. And he said, it's the fans and the people like your son who have been through far more than I could have ever imagined going through in life. And he said, I've been very blessed. And he said, no, I will be tickled to death to get a picture with your son. And he said, you ask me the next time. You tell me.
Yikes. That's not where I thought you were going with that. Did you think that's where that was going?
No, I did not.
Oof. That was
very good.
That's great perspective. And it's kind of the aspect that is hard to find in agriculture because it's such a competitive industry. And you're always trying to explain and purvey as to why you're the better farmer in the area, the best farmer to rent your land, the best farmer to be a candidate for an expansion project. And Aaron Yagi, another Farm for Profit show from Red River Ag, said that part of the reason he was successful is he invested in the people that were around him. He didn't just surround himself with good people, but then he went one step further and tried to help make them better. And that's something that was eye-opening to me, at least, is to try and figure out who good people are to put on your side, but then what do you have to give back? The athlete you were just talking about, exactly. He's surrounded himself with great people, but now he knows what he can do to one-up somebody else's game. He said everybody has a talent. Clarity in being able to recognize who has the talent and who has their best interest and invest in it. Get people involved. Don't try to go at this alone.
Yeah, that show.
I love that comment. That's a great comment.
That show was really cool. Just because he had such a perspective coming back to the farm. He tried to come back to the farm and didn't have the regular, I say this in air quotes, regular skills that a farmer would have. Mm-hmm. But he found his value in the farm and just stuck with that. And I can see that a lot in things.
We're talking about building a better team around you is our topic here. And one of our partners, Suka Manufacturing, I remember when we did theirs, building a better brand, and what a brand name they have. They said equip other to achieve their goals. So they're talking about building that team underneath you, and realize how great it would be if more people were equipped to do what's already been successful. So if you've already been successful, how can we create more people to make a repeatable process that everybody can do? How strong would our team be?
Yeah. Reflecting on, I think it was Jace with Legacy Farmers show that said that he had a customer, or he himself would make videos of him operating the machine, setting an A/B line, setting up whatever it was
him. Yep.
in the task.
Then send it.
And then send it because he wanted to. It invested some time, but he wanted to make his good operators even better, wanted to make them more efficient, invested in their knowledge, their education, but then gave them the power that if they knew how to do something, to make a video and post it out there so somebody else could learn from them. This was actually Matt Cook. His quote was one that my mother texted me, because it starts off saying, if you want to go fast, you can go alone, but if you want to go far, you must go together. Right, Mike?
Yeah, I would agree completely. And it's one of those things where sometimes you need to slow down a little bit and step back and take a look at the whole picture. Because we get so wrapped up in get it done, that sometimes we don't sit back and really, number one, appreciate what's out there in front of us and what we have accomplished behind us. Because if you don't look behind you and see some of the things that you've accomplished, don't spend so much time looking at the things you didn't accomplish, but look at the things you have accomplished and that you're good at and capitalize on them. I think your legacy episodes that you do, man, you could pull quotes out there all day. He's had some great stuff that he's brought to the table. I really appreciate what he's got.
Yeah, Jace is a wealth of knowledge, and it's been fun to have him not only as a friend to the podcast, but someone who's investing in us, forcing us to be better. Because I would argue that every time he sends us a clip, it makes us want to one-up the advice that we give.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, there's one thing that says, don't judge each day by the harvest you reap, but by the seeds that you plant.
Yeah.
And you think about that, not only are you're trying to be a team, but you're also trying to plant seeds and trying to help somebody else out along the way,
Yeah, and that goes back to the mission of our podcast, is things have changed a lot for us. We've been very blessed in the first 3.5 years of this podcast. It has not been easy. We're not going to lie to you and tell you that the path has been easy, but we're very humbled to have the listeners and the fans that we do, but the mission's never changed. We maybe made it more entertaining. We brought on some more humor, some more relatableness, but we've always focused on trying to help you be more profitable. Whether it's in farming, it's in business, it's in your personal life, our goal has always been to help your farm achieve higher levels of profitability. And it's clear, you got to start with a mission. And then you got to find the people around you.
And profit doesn't necessarily just have to be money.
No. Absolutely not. Mike, I'm going to kind of cover what we had today and hit the high level of the ones that we did in our part 1. Our new question for 2023 is, how do you define success? What does success look like to you? So think about that. Listeners, we appreciate you hanging out with us again here on the Farm for Profit podcast. Part 1, our areas of advice came in 4 categories. Have faith in tomorrow. Failure is an option. Try something new. No one else defines who you are. And then we rolled into our part 2 episode today with Mike Burkhart of the Travis Burkhart Foundation. He has an episode of our Farm for Fun shows. Go back a couple of years and listen to that. It's been really great. You can go out to the TBF website and learn more about what they've got going on there. But the father of Farm Talk joined us today saying and helping us cover that nothing can stop you. And I think that's extremely important for people to realize. And when you get to learn Travis's full story, you understand that there's nothing that's going to stop Travis and his family. Hard work pays off. Another one that made Mike a fitting guest for this episode, because he, his family, and Travis are all doing that. They're working hard to not only continue the quality of life for their family and Travis, but also for all kinds of people around them that need help. Be strong, mind and body. I think that goes unspoken for the reasons that is well fitting into our best advice category. And then the one that we spent the most time on today is building that strong team around you. We've got plenty of episodes around forming peer groups, building that advisory team, placing experts around you. We talked last week, like Dave said, with Rob from AgVisor Pro another resource for you to do just that. So clearly, Corey, we find that to be something that is really important to our listeners.
For sure.
So is it time?
Yeah, Mike. What does success look like to you?
Well, first off, I want people to know that through the auction that you guys did 2 years ago, we now have helped families all the way from New York to Arizona, and from Texas to into Iowa, and so that was such a blessing of what you guys did for us. Opened the doors for us to help even more. And my answer back to you, Corey, is don't be a man. Don't try to be a man of success. More a man of value. What your value looks like, because I think if your values are right, success is going to fall in place behind it.
Very good.
So
I like it.
now here's I'm going to flip this around on you guys, because you guys have been asking the question all year, what's the best advice you guys have been? So now go around the table, because a lot of times people only know that you guys are on the interviewing side. Now you're on the interviewed side. So start out and you guys go around the table and tell what you feel is the best advice you've ever been given.
Yeah, I'll go first because it was cheating. I kind of shared this in our part 1. And I do fully believe that it's really impacted the way I do things. And I received advice that you have to believe in yourself before you can expect others to believe in you. So it doesn't mean that you have to know all the answers. It doesn't mean that you have to always be right. It doesn't mean that you have to be classified at all as an expert. But you have to believe that you have a skill, you have the ability to either, one, accomplish it or figure it out along the way before you can expect anybody else to follow or to believe in you. So that was a lob up easy one for me. I kind of cheated on that.
Yeah, and I could go a lot of different ways with this, but it probably goes back to the first show as well, and it's on failure, and it's okay to fail. Just fail forward is kind of, and that's kind of summing up a couple of the ones that we got. But we've had a lot of failures, misses here and there, but we're always still moving forward in the right direction.
Mm-hmm. Good. Dave?
Well, I'm going to go to advice I got in grade school from a Sunday school teacher that goes back to a verse in the Bible. That's Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. When your dad says you can be anything you want to be, well, that was saying you can do anything, period.
Mm-hmm. You're right.
Yeah. And I don't think to go to where Tanner was headed, I think the question isn't who is going to let me, it's going, or who isn't going to let me, but it's who's going to stop me.
Yep.
I don't know that we gave enough time for everybody to think about that, because that's a short amount of time to think about what the best advice
that's what we
ever.
do to every guest.
It's like, let's come up with something, but
No, I like
there's
that.
so many things we could say.
Yeah.
There's a lot.
And Corey always gives crap to me because I give the guest, I'm trying to give the guest time by summarizing the episode in between. And he's right. Every time I do that, the guest tunes into what I'm saying. And we get to the end of the summary and they're like, oh crap.
You did ask me a question and now I forgot.
Should tell them to turn their audio off for a second.
But we all just did the same thing. I listened to everything that Corey said, and Dave was listening to everything that you were saying.
Yep.
And now it's our turn.
Yep.
But Mike, I really appreciate you turning that right back around on us. If listeners want to learn more about your story and Travis's story, and they want to find you guys, what's the best way for them to find your website and you all over TikTok?
Farming_TBI Dad, and then the Travis Burkhart Foundation. They can go there. We have a Facebook page, and then we also have a website. If they want to learn more about it, we have several testimonies on there that will explain what we've done and how we've helped. But also, then other side of that is how can you help?
Yep.
So that's we're always looking for somebody to partner with us and help us out along that way.
And in just over a month,
Yes.
And in February, mid-February, you're going to be down at National Farm Machinery Show. You're going to have a booth down there, right?
Yes, we'll have one there, but then we'll also have one in Fort Wayne at that farm show up there. But we will be there in Louisville also. Actually, in Louisville, we will be in exactly the same booth we was last year. So we got lucky to get in there because now they've got a waiting list of 150. So we got very fortunate to be able to be in there.
Wow.
So come see us. We had a good time down there last year.
We must have went at the right time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll be at Sukup.
Yep, we'll be hanging out with Suka, probably bounce around, do some extra fun stuff, some happy hours as far as that goes. But, Mike, we really appreciate everything that you've done for the agriculture community. We appreciate everything you just did for our listeners again. You're welcome back anytime. I think you know that. And it's been a pleasure.
Always a good time, guys. Appreciate it. Wish I could have been there in person.
And, listeners, until next time, have a good one.